everyone! Today I'm diving into a pretty popular bottle that's been getting a lot of buzz lately, especially in the IBCLC and pediatric dental world, and that's the Momi bottle. If you've seen it floating around Instagram or getting recommended in circles, I want to share my honest thoughts as an IBCLC and a mom who's worked with a lot of babies and bottle feeding. But before we get started, I know you are all going to ask, what are your favorite bottles? You can grab my free bottle feeding guide in the video description to find the bottles that I find work the best with the most amount of babies, no matter what's inside. The Momi bottle was designed to mimic breastfeeding, as many bottles supposedly are, and to be ideal for bottle refusal. I work with a lot of bottle refusal, so I feel like I have some experience in this area. Their technology supposedly works like how a baby breastfeeds. They've gone through some various redesigns, especially with the nipple shape. This was the original one, which I am not a fan of at all. But they changed it based on some feedback from lactation professionals and parents, which is positive. This is a better nipple shape than it was when it first started. However, the marketing behind this is really strong, which always makes me a little skeptical. It's heavily promoted by some IBCs and dentists as a more physiologically appropriate option for babies. I've been concerned about some situations I've been aware of where it was pushed very quickly and as the best solution, and it was definitely not the best solution for that family. This company is aiming to make a bottle that works more like the breast, which is pretty much what most companies are trying to do. The idea sounds great in theory, encouraging oral motor function and avoiding bottle preference, but the execution is where I've had some real concern. One of the main claims of the Momi bottle is that it stops milk flow when the baby raises their tongue up. But here's the thing, at the breast, a baby doesn't actually stop the flow of milk when it lifts. In fact, lifting the tongue is part of a wave-like peristaltic motion that actually helps to draw the milk out, not block it. It does help to control the flow, but it doesn't stop it entirely. At the breast, the tongue moves in a coordinated rhythmic movement. It cups and compresses the nipple to extract milk. The flow is influenced by motion, but it isn't a simple on and off switch. So designing a bottle that stops flow when the tongue is up doesn't really mimic breastfeeding. It might actually interfere with the natural tongue movements that a baby uses when nursing and may lead to more issues when they're going back and forth. When I first heard about it, I was curious though skeptical, as I usually am with expensive bottles that are heavily advertised. I'm always looking for tools that support breastfeeding-friendly bottle feeding and give people more options. But after using it and talking with my colleagues, I'm honestly a little bit underwhelmed. I have tried this bottle with a few babies, and I'll be honest with you, I've had a really hard time getting any baby to really take it successfully and in a way that I feel is functionally correct. And I know I'm not alone. Most of my colleagues have said the same, and when they are able to get the baby to take it, it's just not being done in a way that looks or functions well. I went to a conference recently and a few people tried out this bottle and they were like, I cannot get any water out of that. And that was my personal experience. I just filled this up with a little water. I am obviously not a baby. I can't feed the same way a baby would. But here's a little demo of me trying to get milk to come out of this and what the experience is like. So I'm going to start by putting my mouth up here where I would want the baby to ideally be. So I tried, that kind of collapsed weird, which was interesting, but I tried to kind of move my tongue like I think a baby would to try and get milk out. And more than anything, I found like I was pushing the milk back in. And so when my tongue went up, it did kind of stop the flow, which I think it just feels like it's just a weird experience. So when I am actually able to get the water out, I had to go down further, so kind of on the tip down here. And I am able to get water to come out that way. However, I was having to use my teeth a little bit and it was using a lot more of my lips, which is not what we want with the baby. We want them to use all of their jaw, all of their cheek muscles, pretty much everything in their mouth to get that milk out. Again, I'm going to try and suck up here just to kind of give you another idea of what the experience is like. If I just suck on it, it kind of collapses the nipple in between my mouth. And some of the water does come out, but I'm sucking my cheeks in quite a bit when I'm doing that. And I'm not using my tongue. When I do use my tongue, when I kind of lift it up, it stops that milk from flowing. I think it ends up encouraging babies to revert to poor oral habits just to get anything out. Because babies are smart and they can compensate. And so I think with work, they can get this out, but I'm just not convinced that it is promoting the best function. So while the nipple shape now is better, it's closer to something like Dr. Brown's or the infant. It's still not my go-to. I also don't love the valve in here because I find that difficult to clean. It can lead to complementary sucking patterns, and that's a problem for babies who are also nursing or who are having feeding problems to begin with, because it can affect the way that they use their tongue. I actually saw an ad recently where the baby had visible gapping around the lips, and the suck honestly did not look rhythmic at all. It looked like the baby was pushing the bottle out rather than drawing the milk in, and to me, that's a red flag. I also don't love that they jumped from a 4-ounce bottle straight to a 10-ounce one. That was a recent release, and that was disappointing. That's a big leap and promotes feeding volumes that are honestly more than most babies, breastfed or formula, are going to need. Simpler bottles with triangle-shaped nipples like this one tend to work better in my experience with most babies. These bottles are also quite expensive. The company told me they are trying to bring the price down, which is great, but it's currently $49 for 2 bottles, which is a lot of money, especially when there are bottles out there that are a lot cheaper and work well for many babies. Now, to be fair, when I bought the bottle, the company actually reached out to me. They said that they noticed that I was an IBCLC in Denver, which is close to Colorado Springs, which is apparently their second largest market. We had a respectful dialogue, and I really appreciated that, even though I didn't necessarily agree with everything they said. I'm always open to conversation when companies are genuinely trying to do better, and I did get the sense that they are trying to make a good bottle, and I hope that they will continue to develop it to be something that is easier for babies to take and promotes more functional feeding. At the end of the day, there's not just one bottle that works for every baby. I'm sure there are babies out there that will take this bottle, but based on what I've seen, it's not one that I'm going to be reaching for out of my shelf very often. I'm cautious about recommending it because I think that the work for the milk design doesn't translate well into a breastfeeding friendly option. If anything, it might actually confuse the baby's tongue function, especially if they're still nursing and going back and forth. If you've tried the Momi bottle though, I would love to hear your experience. Send me a video on Instagram, send it to my email, drop a comment below. I'm always willing to learn and hear what your experience was. And if you're looking for more lactation support, whether it has to do with breastfeeding or directly nursing from the breast, I have so many great resources, and I'll link to some below. And then again, if you want to know my top picks, you can get my bottle feeding guide for free. Finally, if you're having trouble with bottle feeding, reach out for a consult. I do them worldwide, virtually, and here in my office in Denver. Thank you so much for being here and trusting me to walk you through this journey. And again, if you have thoughts on the Momi, I would love to hear them.